Okay, so I'm Jaakko Pitkari and representing here Finnish Lifeboat Institution, and I'm a medical doctor of my occupation, so I'm not an engineer, but engineering minded, let's say so. Okay, so I will today show some results of the shock exposure survey we did in our organization last year, but first I'll show some details of the institution. So here's the map over Europe, and the red country there, it's Finland, and the blue dot is Gothenburg for you who are maybe outside of Europe. So we are quite close to Sweden. And then there's map over Finland, and the dots are our lifeboat stations. They are using different colors because of divisions, but each dot will cover at least one station and at least one lifeboat. And we have 65 stations in Finland. Some of them are in inland area and some in the coastal area. So we have a lot of lakes, and there happens quite a lot. So there are 1,800 persons, all volunteers working in the lifeboat. So only paid persons are working in the headquarters in Helsinki, and there are 10 of them, so quite little organization. Here's some background information about rescue cases in Finland. They are divided by the 3 players. The Lifeboat Institution, Rescue Services, and the Border Guard. And the Border Guard is working mainly only in the coastal area when it comes to maritime rescue, and then the rescue service is mainly in the inland area, but the Lifeboat Institution works both. So they are quite equally divided, about 4,000 cases per year. Here are some boats. We have about 150 boats in all. The uppermost picture is class 5 lifeboat. It's the heaviest one. We have only 3 of them, and we are not building them anymore, but they still are operating. They are about 10 years old. Then the medium picture is class 4 lifeboat, is 30-meter one, and the cabin rigid inflatable is class 3 lifeboat. Then we have some ex-RNLI Atlantic 75s and 21s, and other boats also. Some very small boats and slow boats also, and individual ones. So, but these are the main classes, for example. Usually the boats are between 6 and 12 meters in length, and common speed is 30 to 35 knots. Maximum 47 in this cabin rigid inflatable with outboards. So we are not driving faster, but sometimes over 45. The medium fleet speed has gone up in the recent decades. 20 years ago, it was 16.4. Then 10 years ago, 23.7, and now it's about 26. But the current operative fleet speed is higher, since in the number is calculated also some so-called training lifeboats, which are slow and not doing any operational jobs. So the operational medium fleet speed is about 30, I think. Then down to survey. Here are the persons behind that. The main research job was done by Jan Koskemäki, who graduated Master of Engineering last year. And he contacted our institution about cooperation with the survey, and we of course accepted it. And the result was master thesis, Wave Impulses at High-Speed Craft, and it's 140 pages. So he's pretty pretty well aware of high-speed craft shock exposure and been working in the pleasure boat industry. And there are some details of me. I work in an occupational health unit as my daily job, and done 22 years in a lifeboat institution in different jobs and positions. And I also drive a lot of fast boats, work boats and military boats, and doing some journalisting there. And this is my 5th HSBO this year. So basic parameters about the survey. Our aim was to find out impact exposure experiences among lifeboat crew members. We did not measure anything, but we asked what has happened on board. And the injuries and viewpoints were recorded for the first time during the history, so nothing has been done before at any scale. We sent an electronic questionnaire to 587 coxswains operating the planing lifeboats. We have quite nice internet and we can do there whatever we want. So we sent the questionnaire there, and the survey included 45 questions in all. So 19% of participants filled the full questionnaire, which was, well, not very high number, but still reasonable to do some conclusions, and mainly males. And we did some background data questions, so we just wanted to see that the people are working the position they told us, so they were coxswains or helmsmen, which means mainly the small boat coxswain in this case. Here are the age division, pretty experienced people there. We don't have any upper age limit like I think the RNL has or many other organizations also. So even you are over 60, you can work in our lifeboats. And this, in practice, this means that the people answering this survey had long experiences of driving boats, pleasure boats, or something like that before they have entered service usually. And then there are years in lifeboat service, so it's pretty nice, pretty high, over 20 years with many persons, and 10 to 20. And no inexperienced lifeboat crew members in the survey, I'd say. Then how do you do aerobic exercises? The result was pretty nice. 20% didn't do anything, but well, most of them did something. At least 30 minutes or most over 60 minutes. So I think this is pretty okay from volunteers if you think about that. Well, this is not okay. Yeah. This result wasn't of my. I didn't like this, but well, we have to work on this, and now we know that people don't go to gym. So, but it would be essential to prevent injuries, to have a good physical fit from gym. Are you a skilled boat driver? This was the self estimation. So yeah, mainly, but some people think that they are not, and I think, well, yeah, that's true, maybe. Then boat background data from the survey. The boat the people operating, well, so this wasn't a surprise also. It's about 7 to 12 meters mainly, and some bigger boats also, and smaller ones. So this is pretty much according to fleet. And then there's information about the boat. They operate more accurately. So 40% rigid inflatables, either open or cabin models, and then cabin aluminum models in the rigid hull boats. So this was a pretty technical question, but we decided to keep this in the survey. Maximum speed of the boat you operate, this is also according to fleet pretty much. So 30 knots, 35, sometimes over 40. So, and some couple of guys driving over 45. So this is according to fleet. But there were a couple of slower boats, but not many of them. How often your boat airwalks? This question was mainly put there because we wanted to know how they drive it, how they drive the boat in the sea conditions. So it airwalks very often or often. So they drive it quite much as fast as they can. So they are not they are putting throttle on. Well, yeah, Johan asked what's the definition of airwalk. Well, yeah, I don't remember exactly what we described this thing. But mainly having some free revs with engines. That was the point. Yeah, with the props or jet or something. So it may, in practice, it goes airwalk then. And then any suspension equipment in your boat. Okay, not very good. 35, absolutely nothing. And then some seats for the coxswain, navigator, or the crew. And I have to point out in this that these suspension seats mentioned here, they are mainly not designed for the high-speed craft. Some of them are, but not many of them. So they are many of them are lorry, so-called lorry designed for the cars. And So 35% had nothing at all to prevent crew injuries. Okay, how often your seat bottoms? Quite disastrous result. 14% or almost all the time. And very often still high numbers. Only 14% reported never bottoms. And I think those who never bottom are the guys who don't have the suspension seat. I think this is the situation. So this should never happen, and still happens almost all the time. So this is the situation. Yeah, not very good. Then down to injuries. Have you gotten injuries due wave impacts? 60% yes. And this is during the career, or it was a bit flexible time span, but anyway, about the participants. Injury type, pain, rough strikes, and even one unconsciousness person. So I think it's quite serious that someone's gone unconsciousness due wave impacts. And the pain itself, it doesn't tell anything. If we could do a physical examination after the pain report, then we could do a diagnose what's broken there. But anyway, they reported pain, and we are now seeing that. But yeah, that's the thing. Injury focus: back 29, head neck 7. So it's spine business mainly. Others are peanuts, maybe knee problems also, but spine is the worst thing. Have crew injuries interfered with your rescue call accomplishment? Mainly no, but there were still 2 persons who reported that the whole call had to be cancelled and disembark injured crew member. And you know it's not gonna happen easily. So there have to happen something really serious that they will cancel the whole call and come back. And so yeah, too much still. And slowing down. In this case, what I've heard and seen, slowing down means really slowing down. So they put boat out of plane and drive it 10 knots to the side and then come back and still go through the call, but they do it very slowly if something's injured. So yeah. Have you visited doctor due impact injuries? Mainly no, and this is a good number. No fractures in there, even though I know that we have had fractures in our institution, but they were not included in the survey. Well, the connection between old injury and the impact exposure may be hard to understand with the crew members. If you get impacts several months earlier, then you have back pain later on in the winter. So I think this old injury number might be actually higher, but well, we have to work with this. Then some opinion questions. My driving gets more physical due impacts. Well, sometimes mainly, but often, very often, still quite high number, 1/3 about. And when the driving gets more physical, you feel you are tired with impacts, then the risk of injury will go higher. So this number should be driven down as much as we can. Then an interesting result, my psych gets loaded to impacts. Quite high number often or very often, mainly sometimes. So this result was higher than I expected. Maybe people understood this as a whole psych load, so about navigation, throttling, communication, everything you have in the boat. But well, maybe it's do impacts also. I don't know. We have to go down this question more carefully later on. But this was quite high number, I think. Have you been worried about your health due impacts? Mainly no, but still 12% reported that they are often or very often worried about their health. But in this point, I have to say that they are volunteers and they have full control over the boat. They can throttle whatever they want and select the routes and so on. So, and they are still often worried or about their health, and they are not special forces soldier who have to drive 60 knots in order not to get killed, and that's a small problem then if you are worried about your health due impacts in that case. But they are volunteers and driving the lifeboats, so well, too high number. And after all this, we've seen you still think need more speed. Well, 1/5 no, perhaps, yeah, good idea. Absolutely more speed needed. Still, some persons. Okay, there were a couple of small, a bit slower boats, but mainly they are driving 30-35. And can you see a need for a lifeboat with over 50 knots cruising speed? 26% yes. And yeah, that's quite fast boat. So no fear of speed, even you get injuries. Then some lessons. We have made a decision to replace fixed seats in Class 2 lifeboats with suspension seats, and the test will be carried out during this season in Kotka Lifeboat Station with one of those boats you see in the picture, and the seat retrofits will follow during next winter when we get the tests done. Okay, there it was. Yeah, if you have some questions, you can download this presentation from the website you see right there, even right now. So you can get it, and Johan will upload it, I think, to the HSPO website. And any questions right now? You can come to talk with me. And I'm going to personally, I'm going to do some start some PhD research work later this year in order to get some accurate data from the high-speed craft in Finland, and I'm starting to some work with that, and yeah, the crash course. Yeah, I'm also attending the crash course, and I'm glad to see all of you there who are interested about the same kind of like research. Yeah, it's Thursday afternoon and Friday morning, and so it's Monday more to this conference. I'm there, and Johan is also. Okay, thank you very much.